We are ready to go live whenever present. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee meeting of November 20th, 2025. I'm Kathy Daigle-Gammon, Chair for the next seconds, and District 1 Councillor, Waverley Fall River Musquodoboit Valley. We'll do our call to order and land acknowledgement. Call to order at 10:01 a.m. The Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. We're supported today by our Legislative Assistant, Simon Ross Siegel, in the center here, our Solicitor, William Hatfield, and Executive Director of Property, Fleet and Environment, standing in for Maggie McDonald, John McPherson. So thank you. The first item on our agenda is the annual election of chair. So I'll now step down from the chair and turn it over to our legislative assistant, Simon, and he will run the annual election of chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all. So I'll briefly run us through the rules of procedure for the election of chair. We will open the floor for nominations for the position of chair. Any member can nominate any other member or themselves. Any nomination requires a seconder. When we have received nominations, I'll call 3 times just to confirm if there are any further nominations. If we have multiple nominations, we will conduct an election by way of secret ballots. They'll be distributed to members. If there is only one nomination, then I will confirm after the close of nominations if that member will be acclaimed. Following the election of chair, the new chair will carry us through the procedures for the election of vice chair following the same procedure. If there are no questions or concerns as of this time, I will begin by opening the floor for nominations. Do I hear any?
Thank you. I would like to nominate Councillor Steele for the position of chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Are there any further nominations as of this time for the position of chair? Calling a second time, are there any further nominations for the position of chair? Calling for a third and final time, are there any nominations for the position of chair? Could I also just confirm from the nominee if they accept the nomination?
Yes, I accept the nomination.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm happy to announce that Councillor Steele has been acclaimed chair of the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee for 2026. And I will pass the responsibility for the election of vice chair to our new chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. And we'll move on to the annual election of the vice chair. I'll open the floor for nominations for the position of vice chair. Councillor Daigle-Gammon.
Councillor John St. Amand for vice chair.
Nominated and seconded by Councillor Trish Purdy. Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Councillor Jean Saint-Amand, do you accept the nomination as vice chair?
I do. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Saint-Amand has been nominated as the vice chair, and I look forward to working with him on agenda review and other things for Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee. Okay. We need a motion that he be nominated, or I just declare that he's been elected vice chair. Simon, do we need an actual motion?
I'm sorry, I did skim past that. If we can have a motion for that one, that might be best procedurally.
Okay, could I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Daigle-Gammon, and seconded by Deputy Mayor Patty Cattell. Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes for October 16, 2025. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Purdy, and seconded by Deputy Mayor Patty Cattell. Okay, are there any errors or omissions? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion has passed. Okay, moving on to the approval of order of business and approval of additions and deletions. Are there any further changes to the order of business? Asking our clerk if there's any additions or do any council members have any changes to the order of business first? No. And then Simon, do we have any additions or deletions?
Thank you, Chair. None received through the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the order of business as presented? Thank you, Councillor Daigle-Gammon, and seconded by Vice Chair Jean Saint-Amand. Okay, calling for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion has been passed. Any business arising out of the minutes? Okay. Do we have any declaration of conflicts of interest from any members of the committee? No. Okay. So no conflict of interest. We'll move on. We don't have any motions of reconsideration, nor motions of rescission, nor consideration of deferred business, nor notices of table matters. Is there any correspondence, petitions, and delegations? Any correspondence that we should be aware of? I'll ask our legislative assistant.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm the clerk's office hasn't received any correspondence to circulate with this meeting.
Okay. Are there any petitions from council members or that have been circulated to our legislative assistant?
None received through the clerk's office.
Okay. We have now arrived at presentations portion of our meeting, and I'd like to invite Halifax Stanfield International Airport to come forward for their annual update, and we're joined by Joyce Carter, the president and CEO of the Halifax International Airport, as well as Dean Bouchard, vice president, airport planning and development, and they will be providing a 10-minute presentation. And the clerk will provide a verbal notice when we have 30 minutes left and when the time is up. So welcome Joyce and Dean, and look forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joyce Carter. I'm President and CEO of Halifax International Airport Authority, and I'm joined by Dean Bouchard, our Vice President, Airport Planning and Development. Thank you for having us here today. Before talking about the airport itself, I'll briefly introduce HIAA. We assumed responsibility for managing, developing, and operating Halifax Stanfield 25 years ago. We are not a Crown corporation, and our operations are not funded by government. Any surpluses are reinvested in the airport so that we can deliver high-quality air services, customer experiences, and modern airport infrastructure that meets the needs of our growing community. As a result, Halifax Stanfield consistently punches above its weight. It is the 8th busiest airport in Canada, and it offers major advantages, including U.S. pre-clearance, international to domestic connections, and 24/7 Canada customs. Over the past 25 years, our strategic investments have helped make Halifax Stanfield the economic driver it is today. An overview of our 2024 economic impact results is included in the printed cards provided before the meeting. This slide shows how Halifax Stanfield is also a major contributor to HRM's economy. The airport is a key employment center in the municipality, with over 5,900 people working on site in 2024. The airport provides competitive passenger and cargo services and brings visitors who stay longer and spend more. Halifax Stanfield has a significant positive impact on HRM, proudly supporting economic development, tourism, immigration, and sustainable growth. Looking at our air services, passenger volumes are nearing pre-pandemic levels, with 4.1 million passengers expected in 2025. We now offer 48 nonstop destinations served by 18 airlines, and we are North America's most internationally connected airport of our size. We'll be expanding to more than 50 nonstop destinations for the first time, with Lisbon, Copenhagen, Madrid, and Detroit being added by WestJet in summer 2026. In 2025, we also saw record international seat capacity, which was recognized with a global award for air service development and marketing. Air cargo has been turbulent in recent years due to challenges with lobster supply and pricing intensified by U.S. and Chinese tariffs. While not a major revenue source for HIAA, cargo represents economically vital, and we are working closely with industry and government to diversify our markets. I'll now turn it over to Dean.
Thank you, Joyce. As the demands on the airport continue to evolve, it is vital that Halifax Stanfield remains competitive, resilient, and sustainable. To guide this work, we rely on a 20-year airport master plan that outlines a long-term adaptable development program to address future demand. Our current master plan was completed in 2021, and since that time, shifting trends in aircraft activity and scheduling have caused us to update our short-term and medium-term priorities. For example, we had a medium-term plan to expand the terminal, which we are now adjusting to a more scalable solution that makes the most out of our existing assets. Over the next 2 to 3 years, our priorities include expanding gate capacity by realigning the aircraft parking positions at the terminal, and we're also expanding our baggage handling system and investing in technology infrastructure. A significant recent milestone is the opening of our International Connection facility. This new space enables seamless transfers from international arrivals to domestic departures, with passengers clearing customs in this facility and entering the domestic departures lounge without reclaiming or rechecking their bags. The project was supported by federal and provincial funding, and we appreciated HRM's endorsement as part of our application. The facility strengthens Halifax's position as a global gateway and helps attract additional international and wide-body air services that support passenger growth and cargo growth. This summer, we also expanded the domestic international security screening area to add a new screening lane and install CT technology across all 5 lanes. This advanced technology reflects our continued commitment to innovation, efficiency, and improved passenger experience. When it comes to improving our airport experience and operations, we collaborate regularly with HRM in several areas. For example, Halifax Transit's Route 320 remains a vital connection for both travelers and the many airport employees who rely on it for predictable and reliable access to work. Ridership has grown steadily, demonstrating strong demand for this service and its importance to the region. A challenge is the lack of transit options during the overnight period. Many airport employees begin their shifts around 2 or 3 in the morning, well before the first bus has arrived. Without overnight service, they face barriers getting to work safely and affordably. Even an hourly service during these hours would make a meaningful difference. We've been working closely with Halifax Transit as they finalize their new core service plan, and we understand that extended hours are being considered, and we appreciate Council's attention to this issue as decisions on the plan move forward. Reliable and water and wastewater services provided by Halifax Water are essential to the airport's growth. As we plan for future development, it's important that utility capacity keeps pace so that the region's largest airport isn't constrained by infrastructure limitations. We understand that wastewater capacity appears adequate for the foreseeable future at the airport, but that water service capacity could become a challenge in the years ahead. We also face a specific challenge with aircraft laboratory waste. Because this waste contains chemicals, it can't be treated at the Aerotech treatment plant. And given HRM's broader challenges with handling septic waste that we've been told about, we'd welcome the opportunity to explore a shared solution for both laboratory and septic waste. And continued collaboration will be important to ensure the airport can continue to grow in step with the region. Finally, regarding land use around the airport, in 2016, HRM introduced land use bylaws to limit residential development around the airport to ensure long-term compatibility between the surrounding communities and the reality of 24/7 operations. By protecting the areas around the airport and along aircraft approach paths, HRM has helped shield residents from disruption while preserving the airport's ability to operate overnight passenger, cargo, and emergency flight operations. We also recognize the urgency of the housing crisis, and the key is ensuring that new housing and airport operations can coexist effectively over the long term. And we appreciate Council's continued support of these thoughtful planning measures.
We truly value our collaborative relationship with HRM and are grateful for the strong partnership we've built together. So many of our priorities align, from economic development to sustainable growth, transportation, and community experience. Our progress is only because we are working toward the same goals. At HIAA, we are currently developing our next strategic plan, which will take effect in 2027. This process is critical to shaping the future of Halifax Stanfield, and meaningful engagement with our partners will be at the heart of it. Over the coming months, we'll be reaching out broadly for input, including to HRM Council. We sincerely hope that you participate and help us chart the airport's future together. Thank you for the opportunity to share Halifax Stanfield's economic impact and our future plans. We look forward to continued collaboration as we shape the airport's direction in the years ahead. Together, we can build a stronger, more connected, and more prosperous Halifax. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce and Dean. We'll open for questions. I see Councillor Daigle Gammon is on the board for a question. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. You look good up there. It's good. Thank you, Joyce and Dean, for the presentation. Colleagues, as you know, the Halifax International Airport Authority is within District 1, so I'm very familiar with all of this. And I will have a motion ready, but I wait to see what my colleagues are going to say. But two of the things in terms of the future that we're talking about, so one is the slide about the transit bus, and of course, District 1 is looking to see about expanding transit into Fall River and to the airport, because there's a lot of employees that are actually in Fall River that are coming to the airport. So hoping that might actually be a complement and adding to what might happen. So I look forward to that report that's supposed to be coming in the new year. The other piece is about the septic. Now, I do know that there is, a working committee that's made up of provincial and municipal reps that's looking at where septic expansion facility is going to happen. Are you at that table? Are you part of that working group?
We're not at this time. I've had some preliminary conversations, and I do want to connect with the people who are leading that from HRM in the province, because I think we can contribute to possible solutions. Sorry. Yeah. So can you hear me okay now? Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, we're not part of that table yet. We've been told about it, and I am looking forward to an opportunity to participate, because I think the airport may be able to offer a contribution to the solution.
Great. Well, maybe I'll take that as a little project offline and connect with them and get back with you. So thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'll come back with my motion after we have heard some conversation from my colleagues.
Yep, there we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for the presentation. Thanks for your work at the airport. I love airports. I think they're my favorite place on earth. I'm probably one of the only people in the world that doesn't get very upset if there's ever a delay, because I could spend nights at airports and be totally fine. So anyway, there they are. I just love our airport, and every airport I've ever been to, actually. So having said that, when you were mentioning about the aircraft lavatory waste, and that's such an interesting thing that you don't think of, and being a commissioner on the Halifax Water Board, I'm wondering what would that partnership look like? Like, what do you have something in mind that needs to be done? And just out of curiosity, how has the airport handled lavatory waste up till now, and how do other airports handle it? That's a big thing. Thank you.
So it is a challenge. So years ago, the waste would come off the aircraft, go straight into the Halifax water system, and the old air treatment plant that was in existence, I think, before 2016, I can't remember when the new one opened, treated it there. But it was always a challenge, because the chemicals that are used in it to keep the waste from freezing when the aircraft is in flight, it really puts a demand on the treatment system that it can't deal with. So after the new plant opened, it was recognized that it just couldn't deal with that particular chemical. So we have been storing it on site and trucking it away for disposal outside of HRM. So that's really something we'd like to solve. We do have lands available. We have a pumping station that connects right to Aerotech Park from there. So I don't want to presume anything about the conversations underway between HRM and the province, but there may be a location available.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kent, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations. I want to thank both of you, and I hope you can extend this to your team for the tremendous work that you do out at the airport. The significant changes that have happened in the airport are very easy to see and feel, and anyone who's traveling, and sometimes that can be a very daunting experience but I think that it's the way that everything flows so well, and the everything, I think it's a wonderful airport. I do have a question around the impact of our friends to the south, the administration in the United States. Wondering if you've seen a change in the I guess the impact of the flights and some of the changes of regulation, non-regulation down there, and any of those pieces. Can you tell me how you're handling that as well, if there is a significant impact?
Thank you for the question, and thank you as well. We will definitely pass your comments on to the team. Several of them are watching today, so they're going to hear that live. So thank you so much. So the U.S. story is interesting for us. So we deal as a transportation hub with the U.S. in a number of ways. Obviously, our nonstop flights to the U.S. and our U.S. pre-clearance facility is something that is incredibly important to us, and is a strategic asset that Halifax has that definitely every city in the country doesn't have. So my first thing I'll say about the traffic to the U.S. is it will probably surprise most folks to know that traffic is actually up over 2024. So we measured by nonstop passengers to and from the U.S., and it's up double digit from 2024. We have more capacity to the U.S., and by that I mean more flights and more seats available. So that's driving some of that traffic as well. If you think about the summer we just went through and our tourism industry, it is an absolutely critical connection to drive inbound tourism. The majority of the carriers who serve U.S. destinations from Halifax are U.S.-based carriers, and so they're bringing inbound tourists into Nova Scotia. Certainly on the outbound side, so in the winter, we're seeing a decrease there, which is why you're seeing the carriers offer so many other sun destinations. So if people from Nova Scotia, Halifax, Canada are choosing not to fly to the U.S. for their winter destination, they have other options. But the net of those two, the inbound from the U.S. and the outbound from Canada, the result is that our traffic is actually up, which is good. So we're bucking the trend a bit here in Halifax, and our U.S. pre-clearance facility is doing very well. So that's really important to us to maintain that through this very turbulent time. The second thing is the tariffs and exports. And so we export a significant amount of live seafood. We don't export by air a lot to the U.S. So this seafood is exported by freighters, which are going outside of the U.S. And it's also exported in the belly of our largest aircraft, which are going into Europe. Definitely lobster exports are down, and I mentioned that briefly in my remarks, due to pricing supply as well. But it's not driven from Halifax Stanfield's perspective by exports to the U.S. It's certainly the exports that are going by road and by truck we know are down. We get that information as well. But what we're trying to do is we're working really hard with the province, with the city, with those that are involved in the export market to build other markets by air to supplement that. So if you can't truck your exports, say your live seafood, to the US, then we're trying to build the air connections to allow you to get it to other markets by air. So it is roughly flat year over year, but certainly has been very turbulent over the last year because of the tariffs and all of the talk about the tariffs. And not just with the US, the tariffs have been introduced in China as well, which is one of our largest export
I have
markets.
15 seconds. I just want to follow up on that. So, if with the shifts potentially, I guess, that you've spoken to about the Americans impact, have the other international flights from other parts of the world changed? Has that rhythm changed as well? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Certainly, our international service is the largest growing sector right now, international, other than the US. We announced some great services earlier this week by WestJet, which we're really pleased. Those are doing incredibly well. It's a combination of Nova Scotians, Haligonians who have chosen to go to other destinations, but as well in those markets, visitors who have chosen to come here rather than go to the US. So those services are extremely popular right now.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Move to Deputy Mayor Patty Cattell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so great to see you both here. Thank you for the update. It just highlights how many things the airport actually touches and influences in the province in terms of economic development, tourism, conventions, even making this a more desirable place to live. Because I remember not too long ago, it was one of the biggest criticisms we received as a city was our lack of connection to the world. And that has changed so much over the past few years, in large part to the work that Halifax Airport has been doing. So thank you for that. Such an important player in our region. I guess, back to water, you have all four water commissioners, councillor water commissioners sitting on this this committee here, Councillor Daigle-Gammon, Councillor Purdy, Councillor Steele, and myself. So whenever we hear things about water and wastewater, I think all our ears perk up because it is such a big topic of conversation right now, not just for the airport, but for the municipality as a whole. Some questions have been asked about the septage, but I'm going to ask about the water. And, we all know what we experienced this summer in terms of water supply, particularly at Lake Major and the mandatory water restrictions that were put in place. When I go to the airport, I think anywhere I go now, like whenever I flush a toilet or turn on a tap, I think, where's the water coming from? Where is it going? How is this all working? You never see the world quite the same. So when I think about the water supply, and you mentioned that the water supply is a concern for you, going forward, I mean, that's a big issue. You have a lot of toilets, you have a lot of sinks, you have a lot of restaurants, you have a lot of planes. In your own work, what has the airport been doing in terms of looking at water conservation? And it's finally coming to light that we have a limited supply of water and drinking water, the ability to treat water. So as you face that challenge internally, is there anything you guys are doing to help mitigate those concerns around water supply?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So as we develop the airport and make renovations, we are always looking for low flow fixtures and things that will conserve water. Our water is actually served by, there's a water treatment plant at Bennery Lake, so it's a separate plant, and we've been working with Halifax Water staff and showing them our development plans, because I think our concerns are more related to growth and development, because we've got a lot of property there that's available for development, and we could benefit from its development. But if we can't provide it with water, obviously we'll be challenged to do so.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Before we move to the second round of questions, with my colleagues' permission, I'd like to ask just a quick question of clarification, if that's okay. I was very curious. I think I see nodding heads, so I can move ahead. I was very curious by Dean's comment around a scalable solution for your infrastructure investments. I think it's a euphemism for something else, which I can't quite tell what it is. So maybe you can elaborate a bit, please.
Yes, certainly. Thank you. So our master plan that we completed in 2021, it contemplated a fairly significant terminal expansion, as I mentioned in my remarks. That was going to take a long time to build, and the way the traffic has recovered following the pandemic, we really don't have time to wait. A medium-term solution is not going to solve a short-term problem. So we've kind of taken a new approach that rather than building a terminal expansion, how do we do smaller incremental steps that will achieve the same goal, but faster and more cost effectively? So it's just scalable in the sense that we're not trying to build more than we need. We're not trying to solve all of our problems in one go. We will take it piece by piece in a scalable fashion.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I understand, more of a phased approach. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Purdy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Councillor David Hensby texted me some comments. So he's watching this online. He's the great visionary of HRM. And so Councillor Hensby says, I have been advocating that HRM should transfer the Aerotech Park over to the airport and extend Transit Express to Hants East Exit 9 by the Superstore Petro-Canada gas station to serve the airport and metro. So along the lines of expanded transit service to the airport. He also says, years ago, Peter MacKay, as MP, announced infrastructure funding to expand the treatment plant to take on more effluent from the airport so that they could expand too. So, little background historical information there. Thank you.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were going to comment or not. Councillor Daigle-Gammon, I believe you wanted to sort of close on this, so I'll go to Deputy Mayor, the Deputy Mayor then next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The transit, that's another question I had. Given it's so critical to your operation and to your passengers, has Halifax International Airport ever considered running and operating its own airport shuttle? I think we know kind of the pressures that Halifax Transit is under, not just in terms of operations, but in terms of serving people in the city with our buses, our routes, our increased demand. I see this as such a critical piece to the airport that I'm wondering if you thought about bringing it under your own operation.
Yes, thank you. We have explored that. The biggest challenge we have is just the distribution of where all the employees live who work at the airport. We did a survey of the employers, not just for the airport authority, but excuse me, all the employers on the airport campus. And there's a big concentration, as Fall River, as the councillor mentioned previously. They go as far as Truro, they're downtown, they're in Bedford. And so for us to operate a shuttle service, it just wasn't economical or really practical in terms of how we could serve that population.
Perhaps there's some opportunity to talk to some transit planners. I mean, transit doesn't go door to door or try to reach every community. Like, it's not a milk route. That isn't the type of transit that works best for people. But having a combination for rural areas of park and rides and pickup points, like Councillor Hensby suggested in Enfield, or looking at stops in the Fall River and downtown, like picking your stops on a fixed route, might be an option in how you connect into Halifax Transit. I just see the need to get this sorted out as a priority as you continue to grow and we get more people coming into the province and into the city. We need better connectivity, and I'm just trying to figure out what's the fastest way to do that. It's not always going exactly to where all your employees are, but looking at the system from a more connected perspective.
May I just comment? Yeah. So that's a really interesting comment. The system we have now works really well. We just need it to run 24/7.
We all need buses to run 24/7.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. And so when you think about our workers, they work around the clock, right? So in the critical hours, it stops at 11, a little after 12, and then doesn't start up until 5 in the morning. And it's that time in there that is most critical for us initially. We really do think there's a solution to connect into the service we have today rather than have something separate. And so looking at extending the hours and then ultimately ensuring that we have the frequencies that we need. And we have good frequency now at the time that we need it. Since the pandemic, the use has been incredible, right? So up until 2020, we didn't have the demand, but the demand since we've restarted operations since the pandemic, not only from our workers, but from passengers and from air crews has been exceeding the capacity.
Okay, I think this is something perhaps we can have further discussion on. I mean, Halifax Transit is heavily subsidized by the general ratepayer, and so trying to figure out the right business model for this, I think, is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I'll go to Councillor Daigle-Gammon to close.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It's interesting. Like I can't wait to read the report that Transit is going to bring back just about the 320 and what's possible. And I think the very first bus that leaves the terminal is the airport bus, and I think that's just about 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. So so it's going to be interesting to see what the report comes back with and what we see there. In terms of the Aerotech Park, I know that we have a report pending to look at some zoning changes to the Aerotech Park. That's going to hopefully increase our capacity to have other services, because right now the bylaws as it stands says that land can only be given or sold if it has an airport component. So that's also going to be kind of interesting. When you look at 4.1 billion in annual economic contribution, 4 million passengers, 1.4 billion generated by tourists. I mean, this card is so impressive in terms of the economic engine that the airport is to HRM. I think that's extremely valuable, and these conversations are very valuable, and it should be held with all of Regional Council. So with that in mind, I would like to propose a motion that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee recommend that Halifax Regional Council receive the Halifax Stanfield International Airport annual update as a presentation at a future meeting of Regional Council. Second. That was great.
His seconded by, I think it was Councillor Purdy.
Thank you so much, everyone. I do think that this is something that we all need to have a conversation about. There are so many aspects of the value of the airport to HRM, and it crosses all business units. When we think about Discover Halifax, when we think about businesses, when we think about all the airlines that are coming, when we think about tourism, when we think about water and wastewater. So this is a conversation that all of Regional Council needs to have. So thank you for your support.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to note your nameplate says Mayor Andy Fillmore there, Councillor Daigle-Gammon. Sorry, that was an aside. So I do agree with you. This is really important. I think as a council, we need to look at ways of making our council meetings more efficient. in general. When I talk to other councillors from across the country and I tell them how long our council meetings are, they're always quite shocked and surprised and ask me why. I think we have standing committees for a reason, which is to receive presentations, provide comment, and then, because there's too much for regional council to handle as a whole. I think there's opportunity when there's special things in front of different community councils, such as the airport report, the rural recreation strategy that's coming up next, for example, that there's some specific interest from different councillors in different districts on these subjects, and making sure that other council members know what is before the standing committees, so that if they have a particular interest or want to learn more, that they're made aware and have the opportunity to come to the standing committees. I just think that we might need to change the ways we operate and, make our meetings more efficient. And so, we have this presentation here, having them come back, present again. It's what is the best use of our time and what is the best use of the time of the presenters? So I'm just raising that question because this is something that we've done kind of as a habit without really having a discussion about it. And I think there might be a different way of working that really thinks about how we best use all of our time. Because then otherwise you have all of us sitting here receiving the presentation for a second time. I wonder about the value. So I'm just putting that out there for consideration. Thank you.
The question has been called for. All those in favor of, can we see the motion? We just know that the motion is to have a presentation to full council. Okay. All those in favor of the question's been called for. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Contrary minded, nay. Okay, the motion has passed. Thank you. I'll say thank you very much to our presenters, Joyce Carter and Dean Bouchard. Thanks for coming in for your annual presentation. We look forward to having a look at your 2027 strategy and providing input. Thanks very much. And thanks to Council for a great discussion. Okay. We will move along to our next presentation, and we'll welcome Jillian Ramsey from the HRM Alliance to provide an update, an HRM Alliance and Ecology Action Center priorities update. We'll give Jillian a second to get set up. Okay, welcome, Jillian, and I think you're familiar with the fact you have 10 minutes. Please carry on.
Awesome. Okay, hello. Thank you, councilors, for having me here today. My name is Jillian Ramsey, and I am the Sustainable Cities Coordinator for the Ecology Action Center. And I am here today representing our HRM Alliance to discuss advancing the Halifax Green Network Plan, which is everyone's favorite plan. And that's a fact. So this is an important priority plan for the HRM with relation to land use policy that pertains to community health, economic prosperity, growth and development, as well as environmental well-being that needs to be more forcefully advanced. Additionally, this work is of particular relevance because there are a lot of pivotal moments in land use planning happening right now and in the imminent future. So namely, the current consultations happening for Sandy Lake and Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lake special planning areas, the upcoming amendments to the regional plans to allow the MPRs, and both Phase 5 for the regional and suburban plans. So I'm sure you're all familiar with who our HRM Alliance is, but what I want to emphasize here is the long-standing involvement that the Alliance has had in the Halifax Green Network Plan. They advocated for its establishment, were heavily consulted in the creation of the plan's actions and objectives, and continue to advocate for the implementation of this plan through their various work. So the purpose of the Halifax Green Network Plan at a whole is to outline strategies for managing open space in consideration to ecosystem functions, benefits, and connectivity. So it's done through maintaining ecologically and culturally important land and aquatic systems, promoting sustainable use of natural resources and economically important open spaces, and identifying, defining, and planning land suited for parks and corridors. So, why does the HGNP matter? Well, it is a priority plan for HRM. So the policies guiding long-term direction for municipal decisions and investments here are going to impact the fate of all residents. It also sets direction for HRM growth based on community needs. There was a lot of public consultation done in the development of the HGNP. The HGNP also supports all of the other HRM priority plans, some by name through the actions and objectives. And it's the only document directing environmental land use planning, which is really the purpose of this document. So when we aren't enacting it, environmental land use planning, which is very pivotal in today's municipal and provincial issues, is going to fall by the wayside. The plan also acknowledges and emphasizes the importance of green space function. So, it's putting emphasis on the conservation of highly functional quality green spaces that are providing ecosystem services, connectivity and corridors, recreation opportunities, cultural and economic significance, and climate-related disaster planning. So why isn't this plan being more adequately addressed? So there are a couple barriers facing the plan. For one, there has been a lot of delay in the progress report that the HGNP team is working on. It was supposed to be out in May of this year, and it keeps getting kicked down the line. This is an issue because the information in this report becomes less relevant every day that goes by, and we're risking marginalizing the findings of this staff report as a result. There's also a lack of grounding in the land use policies and bylaws. So the HGNP was supposed to be grounded in the regional plan as directed by the actions within the HGNP and currently is not. There are obvious reasons for this, of which we are very sympathetic to. However, excluding consideration for these policies in land use planning documents means developers don't even need to look at them. This is problematic because we are expediting our urban development schemes without holistically considering the environmental and community impacts. The plan also does not have any time-bound actions or orders of priority. So the plan is missing these time-bound metrics and measures of success, which is adding a level of vaguity to the plan that can make it hard to tackle, confusing for staff to implement, and this can lead to inaction. So as a result, we are very concerned that the report is going to reflect the ways that work at HRM is already being done that can fit within the actions of the HGNP, rather than using the actions to be informing and directing new progressive projects. So this approach, we feel, does not adequately reflect this council, HRM staff, and the city's commitment to conservation and strong planning. So what can we do about it? We've got a few ideas. Number one is quite simple. Let's expedite and prioritize the release of the HGNP progress report. We recommend working with staff to figure out what the delays are and advance it, and possibly publishing an established fixed date for the release of the report, just because so many communities and organizations are relying on this work to be done. Number two, let's start progressing tangible, achievable actions within the HGNP. It's a beast of a plan. It's a big plan. So we need to make sure we're not biting off more than we can chew, and we're taking it step by step. So this could look like requesting a report from the HGNP staff team to, one, develop an action priorities list in consultation with community and staff, set timelines and plans for these actions, and three, create metrics to evaluate progress and monitor outcomes. Another helpful suggestion would be to have a staff person at all relevant HRM teams be responsible for the advancement of the HGNP's goals through their work. This is something we've seen happen with Halifax, and I think is a really large contributor to why Halifax has been so successful. And number 3, which kind of builds off of number 2, is probably our most important recommendation. The Alliance feels strongly that the actions in the HGMP focused on conserving wildlife corridors are the actions we need to be prioritizing. So wildlife corridors are important for ecology. These corridors establish strong canopy cover, forest density, and buffers for wetlands, watercourses, coasts, and riparian zones. These spaces are where wildlife migrates, breeds, and feeds. And these areas allow for connectivity of existing conserved parks and green space, making them more efficient to acquire than whole parklands because we can work new development around them. Wildlife corridors are also really important for community because they are protecting the high ecological function that keeps our air and water clean, stores our carbon, and protects our communities naturally from floods and fires. And finally, this work is already really well grounded in the plan. There are strong actions and objectives to support this work, as well as research and evidence to show us where to start. So, skipped ahead a little too fast. So our suggestions are, we suggest council put forward policies to focus on conserving wildlife corridors. There are could be some general policies that show direction or intent, but when making specific decisions about corridor space, a tool belt of actions is likely going to be required. This can look like greenbelt zoning, incentives for landowners, easement options, and most ideally, land acquisition. But again, this is a lot to bite off. So we suggest starting with a pilot area to test some of these policies out. Recommendation number 1 would be the Chebucto Head connectivity for a pilot location. We have some vulnerable corridors right now that will risk wildlife being able to get on and off the Chebucto Head, which will impact the environment and communities of the entire Chebucto Head. So let's look at that a little closer. This is map 5 in the HGNP, and this is where we should be working from. The map isn't perfect, but frankly, it's good enough, and we simply don't have time to keep improving it and updating it, or all of the land is going to be lost. The darker green sections on the map signify the most ecologically significant areas to protect, and orange or red areas are already acquired lands for park space or other conservation designations. And the best areas to develop, or areas that have already been developed, would be white. The arrows on the map show both important and essential ecological corridors following those dark green channels that are connecting large open spaces or parklands. And this is making these areas the highest priority. So that's obviously really hard to see. Let's zoom in. This is a closer look at the neck of the Chebucto Head. You can see communities from on the left and the kind of St. Margaret's Bay to Hubli area, all the way along Hammonds Plains and Bedford, extending to Dartmouth and all the way out to Preston, have strong wildlife corridors that are promoting connectivity. Specifically to focus on, there are 3 passing through the Sandy Lake area, including 1 in the proposed special planning area for development, and 5 in the Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes area there. Another important area to notice is in Burnside, where 1 ecological corridor is holding it all down by itself, so another priority space. Here are just a few actions from the HGNP that would support and direct this work. And so, in summary, the work of the HGNP is not only critical to community and environmental well-being in the HRM, but it's never been more timely. We need to be advancing this work yesterday, and the place to start is with creating policy to conserve our wildlife corridors. Conservation and growth need to work together and look at the fate of the HRM holistically instead of parcel by parcel. When urban sprawl is being fast-tracked, this is also the time to fast-track our corridor protection. Growth needs to happen in tandem with wildlife conservation and planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. You packed it all in. We'll open the floor for questions. Deputy Mayor Cattell.
Thank you, Madam Chair Steele. Thank you for the presentation. The Halifax Green Network Plan has been something, we've been working on for a very long time now. I remember those original meetings down at the Halifax Central Library that we had with the big maps and consultants hired to kind of come up with this concept. When you talk about a pilot and looking at some tools, one of the biggest challenges we have had is how we work with private property owners. And I'm just wondering if you have some other examples, like when you're thinking about a pilot, what that pilot might look like and how that work with the private property owners has been done in other places when it comes to preserving wildlife corridors or green belts.
Thank you. Through the chair to the deputy mayor. I think that's the right way to say it. Yeah, we definitely need to do more research in that. And there are other places that are doing this really well where we can be pulling that research from. Ontario obviously comes to mind with really strong green belting legislation, although these days anything can get walked back. I think ultimately it comes down to community education and buy-in from like an easement perspective. I think helping people understand that it's not necessarily like hard and fast conservation lines being drawn, but rather creating kind of tools to be prioritizing certain areas and allowing for development to really move with the space. So, I mean, I would need to look a little bit more into it, or perhaps staff could prepare a report on this as well. But it would be worthwhile to consider a priorities list for how we are choosing areas for development from a conservation perspective. So looking at the HRM holistically, looking at these corridors in relation to where we're developing, how we're choosing which developments to proceed with needs to correspond where these corridors are at right now. So, you know, some corridors, it's true, will be passing through existing land that perhaps already has potential for easement, but mostly we're looking at like the future of growth in HRM, and that's really where I think the priority needs to be.
Features. I'm hoping a lot of this will be addressed through our suburban and rural plans that are in the works. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Councillor Morse.
I'm not officially on the committee, so I don't want to go. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm wondering if you could say a little bit about what you see as the risks of developing the special planning areas without the green network plan fully developed itself, how urgent you think that is.
I would love to talk about that. I'd like to start by saying I'm not opposed to all of the special planning areas. I think there are some strong special planning areas. The two that I think present the most imminent risk right now are Sandy Lake and Highway 102 West Corridor, which is Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes. So these are both in secondary planning, which means they're really starting to conceptualize what development would look like here. And both of these areas are not only in ecological corridor spaces, but are also very much adjacent to existing boundaries and within aspirational boundaries for both parklands at these sites, right? And I think what's really important to be considering is these green spaces are performing functions for community already. So the concern here with development is we are starting to kind of trivialize our park system instead of seeing it for what it is, which is a natural asset, an economic asset. By the June 2025 version of the regional plan, staff included in Chapter 6 acknowledgement of the fact that it costs us a lot more money as taxpayers, as a municipality, to be advancing development projects that are ruining our ecological functions, because we then have to figure out ways to restore those ecological services, which is very, very expensive to do when they're already happening naturally. So it's going to cost the taxpayer a lot more to be advancing projects in the corridors in green spaces at these two special planning area sites. We also have to think about good city planning here as well in terms of traffic. Highway 102, Hammonds Plains Road, the 101, the Bedford Highway, some of the classic big hits for traffic in the HRM are all going to be affected by these greenfield developments that are happening outside of the urban service boundaries. So no transit, no services, very expensive, very car dependent, leading to congestion. So all of these problems are going to get perpetuated by impacting these corridors. And I'm not trying to save every tree. That's not the goal here. I can't simply fit all my arms around them to hug them all at once. But we do need to be making plans that look at the green network holistically so that we are developing in the most low grade, low ecologically valuable spaces. Like if we have to cut down trees, let's make sure they aren't already serving our communities so importantly. And then just on a final note as well, the reason Halifax is so special, as I'm sure we're aware, is the lifestyle we're able to maintain in the HRM. Like I can drive from my downtown apartment for 20 minutes and be in a pure forest that supports rare species. I can go paddling. Think about the opportunities for families and people who don't have a lot of access to spaces to be able to have these nature connections and recreation opportunities. Like we are so uniquely positioned as a city. It would be so devastating to ruin like what makes this place so great by developing our corridors and impacting our green spaces.
Thank you. Very well put. And I'm also wondering if you have any suggestions regarding provincial legislation that would support HRM's designation of wildlife corridors, because we often run into situations in the municipality where our bylaws aren't strong enough, or we get overruled, or we're not supported. I mean, in Ontario, I think they have very strong watershed and ravine, it helps them protect their ravines in Toronto because the watershed legislation at the provincial level is strong. So I'm wondering if you've seen examples either in other provinces or if you have suggestions for what needs to happen at the provincial level to support HRM in protecting wildlife corridors.
I think you really hit the nail on the head. The Ontario Greenbelting legislation is definitely something I think is very possible to model a provincial legislation hereafter. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Other provinces are doing this. Other places in the world are doing this. It's long overdue for us to be catching up. And the Halifax Green Network Plan is a really, really strong piece of policy that we should be highlighting and prioritizing. That is going to come with support from the province. Ultimately, it's challenging when current provincial decisions are impacting our ability to be enacting our own municipal plans. I think that the best thing we can do in the case of green corridors being impacted by the special planning areas, for example, while the province is directing that work is being held by HRM staff. And so making sure those staff teams are, doing the good work they're doing and really emphasizing the importance of these corridors in how they're planning is really important. I spoke to some planning staff last night at the open house for the Highway 102 West Corridor, who I had mentioned the HGNP's corridors need to be the focus for where we're starting with the HGNP. And they actually were really delighted and surprised to hear that. They said, wow, this is really great information. We actually didn't know where to start with this plan. So ultimately, the province is playing a key, but I think with Halifax land use planning, we need to be the ones focusing on it in-house.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you very much. I wasn't involved in the original work, but I know there were so many organizations involved in developing the Green Network Plan. That would be now over 10 years ago, I guess. So many people dedicated many hours and actually a few years to coming up with this Green Network Plan and the dozens of organizations that you represent. So I think it was an incredible community effort to get here, and I hope we can continue as we're under a lot of development pressure now. So thank you.
I don't see any other speakers on the board. Okay, if it's okay with the committee, I'll ask a question. If it's okay, okay. Thank you. Jillian, you mentioned there's 5, I think you said there's 5 wildlife corridors in the 102 West. Can you just say a bit more about that?
Are we able to pull that slide back up to take a look? Is that possible? It's this one. Yeah, perfect. So on the left of the Bedford Basin, you can see the Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes existing boundary in orange, that kind of horizontal piece there. So you can see there are corridors that pass and then also connect in the Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes area. So you'll see the essential and important corridors that go kind of alongside either side of BMBCL, one that's connecting it to the lower Five Bridges wilderness area down there, and then one that is connecting up through Susie's Lake, which is right next to where the Highway 102 West Corridor future development is planned to be.
And did you have any discussions with the developers on these 5 corridors?
Yes, we were able to talk a little bit about ecological corridors. I think one thing we really need to be concerned about when development plans are happening, I mean, I'd like to be very clear that I don't want to see development happen at either of these sites. I think that it would be a really irresponsible loss of green space we'll never get back. But they are working to try to consider the corridors, is what I'm hearing from developers. Like, they understand what I mean when I'm talking about corridors. I think the quality of a corridor is where confusion really starts to be drummed up. I'm being told that the 10% parkland dedication that they're required to give is going to align with the corridors at Sandy Lake, for example. But then I'm also told in the same breath that the parkland is possibly pickleball courts or lawns or things like that. And that's not high grade ecological corridors. We need dense canopy cover. We need good buffers on riparian zones. We need all of the native biodiversity to be maintained. So a pickleball court that deer kind of graze around isn't the same quality. And I think that's the difference. We're really trying to focus on areas that are dictated by high biodiversity, high ecological function, strong ecosystem services, good recreation opportunities in natural spaces. That's really where the focus needs to be.
Okay. Thank you, Jillian. I see we have Councillor Hinch on the board. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I too am not on this committee, but so listening to Councillor Morris saying that this plan was here long before her time. The action items that I see are, so have any of the action items been implemented or anything of that nature? If you can tell me that.
A great question. We need to look at the progress report that's supposed to be summarizing those actions. So I believe the actual plan was adopted in end of 2018, beginning of 2019. Yeah. And we only just hired a person to work on this plan as of last year. So it's not being adequately resourced, which I think is a huge part of why the plan has been delayed so far. And other priority plans in the HRM are getting adequate funding, adequate staff resourcing, adequate attention and support. And I don't think the HGNP is lacking support from council or from staff. I think it's just people are spread really thin, and we need to start refocusing how we are prioritizing things in HRM. Like, Halifax is a great plan, and I'm not looking to take resources away from it at all. I definitely think we need to keep advancing that work. But the reason that work is so progressive is because it's not just a Halifax team that is working siloed. It is a group of people on different HRM staff teams that are working together in their individual staff teams to bring Halifax forward. And so right now we have 2 people dedicated to the HGNP who are both on the planning team, and that's a really great start. And I definitely think planning is a good place to be looking at our Green Network plan. However, it would be really helpful to have staff whose portfolios or files are dedicated to advancing this work, because otherwise, it's just people asking for favors, essentially, from other staff.
Okay, thank you. So the one in the 18 and the 32 action.
Keep forgetting to push the button. These are just 3 example actions. So I sent a file around, I believe, to all of you folks called the HGNP User's Guide. This is an 8-page guiding document to the whole HGNP, which, as we've discussed, is a monster. So definitely more digestible. In this document, our HRM Alliance has defined several actions that they feel should be prioritized of the 76 actions that are within the HGNP. And then these are 3 from that list that speak to the reason corridors need to be prioritized. So this is just 3 of many examples, but is further evidence of this being a good place to jump off from, showing that research and thought exists in the plan and there's intent in the plan to see corridor work done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hinch. Councillor Morse.
Thank you, Chair. This brings up a question, and we have staff here. I'm wondering if we could get an update on the status of the Green Network Plan report. I had thought it was coming to Council sometime late summer, so perhaps we could get just an update on when that report's coming. Thank you. Are you able to update us today, or? Sorry, John, to put you on the spot here. But...
No problem at all. I don't believe we don't have staff here at the moment to. Oh, do we? Oh, sure.
It's David Hod.
Push the button. Hello, I'm David Hodd. I'm the project manager for the Halifax Green Network Plan. It's a great privilege to be working on everyone's favourite plan. The report is largely there, but it's still going through some review. At last I saw it was at acting COO review. There are some amendments to come from that. And then it should be ready. It's currently slated for a January report, but because we've had some sort of hiccups on the way, a lot of that delay has really come up, certainly in recent months, has been sort of navigating the phrasing in relation to the regional plan changes that have taken place, which affects many of the lines. The update is actually a report for what we did in 2023 and 2024. But many of those actions were, we're going to put this in the regional plan, and then we have to change what we're saying on it. So rather than try and confuse you with that details, we're having to sort of run and rewrite quite a few aspects of that report. But provided that review comes through from the COO, the corrections, and then we move on to the CAO, then we should be ready for a January update.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. Thank you, David Hod, I believe. Yes, okay, thanks for that. Any further questions for Jillian? Okay, thank you very much, Jillian, and thank you, Council, for your interesting questions. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to the public participation portion of the meeting. I'll ask our legislative assistant if we have any registered speakers for this meeting or if there are any in-person signups.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm that there were no pre-registered speakers today, and I don't believe we have a sign-up sheet, so it will be an opportunity to open to the gallery on a first-come, first-served basis.
Okay. Would anyone like to speak? Calling for a second time. Do we have anyone that would like to speak? And the third and final time, would anyone like to speak? Oh, okay. Okay. I don't always know all the staff. So, okay. So we're now at the information items brought forward section, and we're going to have a staff presentation on the rural recreation strategy, the year one implementation progress report. I'm pleased to welcome Angela Green, Director of Recreation Programming, and the second guest will have to introduce herself. Okay. I need to go grab my phone because somebody's got to text me questions about this.
Okay. Through Madam Chair to members of the Standing Committee. Good morning. My name is Mickey McDowell. I am a Community Recreation Coordinator in the beautiful Musquodoboit Valley. and I've been given the task to oversee the rollout of the rural recreation strategy. Of the many things I've accomplished in my 34 years with Parks and Recreation, I would like to say that this is probably, I feel, the most important thing. I've been kicking around here for a long time. Okay. Just wondering why we're here today, and some of you are probably new to this. The origins of this, on January 9th of 2024, a motion was made to Regional Council, and it was moved by Councillor Cuddle and seconded by Councillor Stoddard, that Halifax Regional Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer to carry out the actions contained within the Rural Recreation Strategy as part of a multi-year budgeting and business planning process. The director, and to also, direct the Chief Administrative Officer to return to Regional Council via the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee with a progress report after 1 year of the adoption of the Rural Recreation Strategy. And the motion was passed unanimously, and that is why we're here today. We're at the 1 year mark, and I'd like to provide you with an update. You may remember this chart from the information report that was submitted last month. The blue and orange in the chart are the actions that we have completed or are well on their way to being so. Staff are using the rural lens when they're approaching new projects and initiative, and it's all been very positive. Staff are 100% on board with this. Getting people to do things has not been a struggle. The 4 actions that you see in the green section there are the kind of things that we're having some struggles with. And you will find when you look at those actions within the report that those are things that involve outside agencies and contractual agreements or other business units and their policies. One of them has to do with strategies that are involved not-for-profits and indoor facilities and that sort of thing. And currently, we're not really involved in any strategies that have to do with that. And the other one was deferred to the second year, and that has to do with simplifying the permitting process. It wasn't seen as a priority for year ones because it was quite a heavy load in the of the 37 full actions, or 37 actions. It wasn't seen as a priority to get done in year one. So it's also important to note in those 4 actions in the green, we've kind of found creative ways to accomplish them in different ways. So it's been all very, very positive. I'm going to highlight the things in the 88% of things that we did accomplish or are well on the way of getting accomplished for year one. Through our service exchange agreement with the Halifax Regional Centre for Education, we've gotten Saturday access to rural schools. This is a really big thing. Okay, HRM Fleet has added another recreation bus to their I guess you would say their fleet. Okay, and this bus will be stationed in Sheet Harbour, and the current bus that we now have will be shared between Musquodoboit Harbour and the Musquodoboit Valley. So we should see some increased programming once that bus comes on board, and for all 3 areas. And I didn't know this, but you can't just go to the Chev dealership and get yourself a bus. You have to order one, and so it's been a process to get that bus on board. Other things that we have done, we've developed a mechanism to get larger adaptive equipment to the rural residents to borrow and to loan, things like sledges and hippocampuses and those type of bigger things that we don't typically house in our rural rec offices. On November 27th, you will see a program proposal launch on our website, and what that is a way to get to know new talents and new programming ideas within our rural communities and within the whole municipality, actually, because there's a section in that proposal online where you can, if a person wants to, say, be a Zumba instructor and they're willing to travel to Musquodoboit Harbour, that they can check that off, and so we'll be able to find people, we hope, to do new and interesting things within rural communities. This summer, you may have noticed that we've done some piloted rural access swimming lessons in 6 locations in the municipality. And I understand that we've gotten support to continue to do that next year through you. So thank you very much for that. And, within those 6 locations, there was varying levels of success and challenges, and we hope to address those in next year's swim lessons in the rural communities. And as well, we've had community profiles developed for our areas within the municipality. And now we can base our programming decisions on data. And we can also use this data for grant proposals and other funding requests that we're trying to look at. And the parks end of things, council has supported 2 additional staff, which has been great. And we're looking to house these staff in rural depots to cut down in that windshield time. So there'll be more time in community doing park maintenance. As well, the Parks Department, and I find this is kind of like yay for me. They've changed their asset rating tool. So therefore, there'll be weight given on recreation assets within our rural communities, more weight sort of thing. So we should see, if everything goes the way it's supposed to, that our assets in rural communities aren't used as much, so they tend to outlive their lifespan. We should see us move up for those communities, move up for recapitalization and upgrades and that sort of thing. When we look at support for community organizations, our facility partners team are putting the finishing touches on their facility management toolkits, which kind of highlights the best practices on things anywhere from accounting to facility maintenance. And this will be rolled out to not only HRM-owned and volunteer-managed facilities, but also be made available to those community-owned facilities as well. Community event kits are now available to be loaned out to community groups that are looking for, that might not have things like, I'm just trying to think what's in some of my kits, like giant checker games and that sort of thing to help with their community events. And now we have them to be sent out to other people, and groups can ask for them. And we've had numerous recreation service provider meetings and roundtable kind of discussions in various communities. And it's been really interesting to see how those have kind of morphed into the groups trying to work on their own needs with our community developers in their own geographical areas. And which, of the 3 that I've attended, they're very different needs and very different aspects of the rural areas. When we look at communications, we're hot off the heels of October 29th. We hosted what we call our second gathering of various levels of government that provide rural services within recreation in our rural communities. There was management level representation from the Nova Scotia Health Department, Department of Natural Resources and Renewables, the Department of Community Cultures and Heritage, as Halifax Libraries, of course, our staff, and members of staff from the community grants program. And it was really nice. We do a really good job at people at my level of talking and partnering, but those levels higher up don't have that opportunity to talk. So it was really nice to see that happening. And we're meeting again January 28th, I believe. And we held the meeting in Carroll's Corner, so people had to come to a rural area. Okay, the other thing that's happened that has been a really nice thing to see happening is that the corporate communications team has taken the research that we've done for the forming of the rural recreation strategy, and they've developed an internal document on how they're going to approach rural marketing and promotion. So then, because it is different and the needs are different, and so then what we did as rural recreation programming staff, we met and took their guidelines and figured out how we can action their guidelines to get the stuff done in our communities that we need it done in a way that we know will work. So we're excited about that. insights we've gained from year one. On the slide there, you'll know that it was a lot to accomplish in a short period of time, and that's why some things are still in progress. We might have bitten off more than we could chew in year one. Challenges. We were faced by other priority projects, staff changes, and vacancies. Seemed like everything was happening last year within our department, and there was learning curves with new people coming on, directors moving around, staff retirements, and then we had the introduction of our new registration system, which took everybody in our department had to learn and figure out and that sort of thing. So there was a lot of time spent on that. We found out too, we needed to really work on some of the foundations that we had within our kind of best practices and things to support rural communities a little bit differently. The thing that comes to mind right now is like our equipment loan program. We knew how, and we had process to loan like balls out or, the smaller type stuff. But when you're sending a $5,000 piece of equipment out to a community, to a resident, do we have what's, the protections we need and ways to get it back and forth and all that sort of stuff. So we had to work on that. The actions that involved outside agencies were really difficult to achieve because, we have no control over that sort of thing. We have mechanisms to help with that, but we didn't have any control with that. So that was hard. And keeping momentum high with staff and community requires visible accomplishments, and a lot of the stuff that was involved in year one, the average person is going to see, right? And so even with our roundtables and that sort of thing, they want to see something tangible coming back to them, and it was hard to achieve at some times. So, keeping that momentum up and that sort of thing within those groups has been challenging, but, it's still going forward, which has been great. And motivating change within this municipality takes time. And, a year is not a lot of time. But like I said, everybody that I have dealt with from the directors right on down to, the program instructors are well on board and really, really wanting to see things happen and are pleased with what the progress that we're making. So, moving forward, year one, like I said, was a lot of recreation programming and community development heavy. 2 and 3, we're looking at a focus on youth with youth employment and volunteerism. We're looking at parks and parks maintenance and, how to kind of make that more efficient, partnerships, that sort of thing. We're looking at outreach for recreation programming and other supports. So how do these great buses that we have, how do we use them more efficiently? What can we use them for based on our licensing, that sort of thing? Play boxes, what's the best way to support that program? And we're looking at any kind of financial reviews and budget realignments that might have to be made because of all these great and wonderful things that we're doing and making recommendations for that. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Please make them easy.
Thank you very much for that enthusiastic presentation. And I can tell you have a lot of experience in this area. Thank you for that as well. So I'll pass to Deputy Mayor Patty Cuttle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you so much for this presentation. This is one of the programs I've been very proud to see come through Regional Council and be realized and implemented. And I appreciate the time it takes to get something off the ground, but I'm super encouraged by both the importance that you've expressed, you feel about this program. It makes me think we've got the right person on the job here. And also by kind of the evolution in how you're approaching this through your lessons learned and adapting and continuing to move forward. Just that level of commitment and willingness to learn is great to see. When we first started talking about the need to address recreational needs in the rural areas, I think a lot of that for me came from looking at other municipalities around HRM and around basically around the country, that were rural and were able to deliver recreational programming that we weren't seeing within HRM. And I think a couple of years ago, or it wasn't even that long ago, it was under our past CAO, Kathy O'Toole's comments, that she recognized there is an urban bias that has existed, and there has not been the investment in our rural communities to reflect the need, or even the taxes that they raise. That there's in so many rural communities, there's just nothing available in rural regions, I should say, too. So seeing this kind of investment is really great. And the other thing that you said that's so important is that rural areas are different. It's when we're looking for a replication of urban services in rural communities, because that just wouldn't work for many reasons. But it's really, the attention that's being paid to understanding what we can do in rural areas and how we can grow that is, again, so encouraging. So, some things that I'm just going to throw out there is working in partnership. I'm wondering if we're looking at partnering with other organizations that deliver recreational opportunities to continue to kind of grow what we can support in our rural areas. In particular, I'm thinking about the mobile sailing school. In my district in particular, and the district I used to represent that went out to West Dover, you've got Terrace Bay, you've got Sambro, you've got Ketch Harbor, you've got all these coastal communities that have great access to protected inlets and coves where sailing programs would be ideal. I know the program at St. Mary's Boat Club, the Can Sail 1 and Can Sail 2. I think they changed the names of those programs now. I can't remember what they are, but they're super popular, almost impossible to get into. But just taking advantage again of our natural assets to deliver appropriate recreational opportunities, like the beaches and the lakes for the swimming programs. I'm wondering if in particular, if you've had any dialogue with the Mobile Sailing School about being able to expand that program, or other partners who are looking at delivering rec programming.
Through the chair to Councillor Cuddle, I can speak to a couple of things that I've witnessed myself at the community roundtable meetings in, I believe, is your area. There was a representative from the Shining Waters community, or that resort or whatever it is. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that's not my district.
It's not your district, but I know at that meeting there was talk about partnering with HRM on that sort of thing, and the recreation coordinators in those areas would be the ones that would be doing that type of partnership. So I don't know about that in particular, but I will reach out. I think that would be a wonderful thing to try to explore. And that's one of the foundational things that we need to work on too, is who we partner with, when we partner, what does those partnerships look like? Is there, high level partnerships that we need to do, or lower level, and who looks at that? And that's one of the foundation pieces that we are developing right now.
Great. Well, I'll connect with you later about that, because it's wonderful when there's an organization that has a model that's working and might be scalable to meet more needs. Okay, thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the Councillor Angela Green, Director of Recreation Programming. Just to add to that, that's the intention of the roundtable, that we engage organizations within those different communities throughout HRM. So if there are different organizations that we feel would benefit through these roundtable discussions and build those relationships, that's what the intent of those roundtables are. So we would love to hear more if there's more opportunity for us.
Okay, I'll move first to Councillor Daigle-Gammon.
Virginia first. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mickey. I know how much this means to you. I've sat in rooms with Mickey McDowell many times and Angela, and I know that even there was a group of rural people that came together, and you were very gracious and met with them actually in Fall River. I remember having that meeting. We were talking about the rural recreation strategy and how community gets to partner. So to see in this and to see some of the actions that are being worked on, it really is a testament to your good work. So thank you. One thing I wondered about, and it's just, is there an opportunity next year when we come to this? I'm just wondering if we can have another addendum or appendix that looks at how many programs were offered and then what was the uptake, right? And so what did we learn? Like, did the programs fall off? Did we create new ones? I'm just curious if there's a way that we can look at that, because I think having the rural recreation strategy is boosting the capacity in the programs that are offered. And I think that's one really interesting indicator that will tell us how well we're doing. So I'm just wondering, is there a way to have that data that we know, here's all the programs that were offered, here's the capacity, right? So I think that would be great.
Through Madam Chair to Councillor Deagle-Gammon. Yeah, I can't see why not. I know we run those types of reports anyway, and to take those high priority areas within the strategy, that would make, that's an easy ask. Okay.
Because I think that will also be able to build the next phase of what the rural recreation strategy might be. So you might be getting yourself another job. Keeping the job. How's that?
I'm at that retirement age, just so you know. Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the councillor. The other piece around that is that the organizations, as we all know, we rely very heavily on volunteer organizations in the rural areas, and we appreciate the programming that's happening, and our community developers are working very closely with those organizations. And one of the asks that we're working towards is to be able to get programming seasonally from each of the organizations. So that would be something that we could add to what we're doing personally, like through HRM, and be able to have a conclusive list that we could certainly provide next year during our update report.
Thank you. I think that would be awesome. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hinch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there's quite a few African Nova Scotian rural communities. So I'm wondering if there's representation around the table at those round table meetings.
Through the chair to Councillor Hitch, in the Eastern Shore area and it's called the Commuter East area in the Rural Recreation Strategy, the community of East Preston is represented at the regional roundtables.
Okay, because we do find it difficult for our kids to get out and enjoy some of those recreational times and whatnot. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Hinch. Councillor Deagle-Gammon.
Thank you. In the spirit of, phone a friend has phoned me. So again, we all know who he is. David says hi. It says, ask Mickey about the issue of having Eastern Shore District High School closed and Gatesbrook Junior High 2 and the loss of access to 2 gyms, and what's that impact on the rural programming?
From through the chair to Councillor Deagle-Gammon to Councillor Hensby. From what I understand, there hasn't been a big drop in the recreation programming through that because we've had access to the other school. So it was transferred over. However, I know that there are community groups and organizations that are looking at what they can do with that building, and that kind of thing is beyond my scope, but I know that there are conversations.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Daigle Gammon. Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions, so I'll thank Mickey and Angela for the presentation and the update, and we'll move on possibly to our next item. Does anyone have need for any kind of a break, or are we able to plow through? Okay, great, excellent. So we'll move on to the next item, which is an update on the African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity Action Plan. And I know we have a presentation and a number of presenters, so I'll ask the presenters to perhaps introduce themselves. We have extra presenters, more than what are on my list, so that's great. So maybe when presenting, they'll introduce themselves. And when you're ready, please carry on.
Good morning. My name's Irvin Carvery, and I'd like to first of all thank the committee for having us here. I see a lot of friendly, familiar faces around the table. And I'd like to, first of all, congratulate Patty on her deputy mayor's appointment. Well done. I'm going to do a land acknowledgement, but we've already done a land acknowledgement for Mi'kmaq. So I'm going to do the African Nova Scotian. The African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity Council want to recognize those who did not come here to explore, conquer, or possess the land, but those who were brought to Mi'kma'ki seeking freedom. African Nova Scotians first arrived in Mi'kma'ki in the 1600s, settling in 52 communities across the province. African Nova Scotians have contributed to the infrastructure and economic wealth of the towns and cities they helped to build, but from which they did not benefit. We challenge folks to learn more about the ways in which our respective communities were shaped by the historic contribution of African Nova Scotians who have been here for over 400 years. We recognize that our strength is rooted in the collective triumphs of our ancestors. We are guided by their enduring spirit as we still face contemporary challenges. In this space today, we commit to honoring the rich contributions of the people of African descent, fostering a community that celebrates and strives for inclusion, diversity, equality, and a united future.
Good morning. My name is Dolly Williams, co-chair of the African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity Advisory Council. On behalf of our council and the communities we represent, thank you for the partnership and this opportunity today to share the impact of our work and our plan for the future of the African Nova Scotian community within HRM.
I join my co-chair Dolly in expressing our appreciation for HRM's leadership, investment, and collaboration to support the African Nova Scotian economic development. We also want to thank the Halifax Partnership, the province, and RBC, and our many local and national partners for their support. The Road to Economic Prosperity is a community-led economic partnership that is strengthening African Nova Scotian communities and contributing to inclusive growth across HRM and our province.
Our work is rooted in the legacy of African Nova Scotians who have worked faithful to improve the lives of Black Nova Scotians and strengthen our communities. Building on this legacy and 2 years of consultation we launched the Road to Economic Prosperity, the first 5-year plan, in 2021. Our long-term goal is to create generational growth and prosperity of African Nova Scotians who've been here for over 400 years.
Together with our partners, we've addressed systemic barriers and created a model that empowers African Nova Scotians to lead their own future and effectively work with government, business, and academia to achieve priorities. Our partnership with HRM over the past 5 years has delivered historic progress and is being recognized nationally and internationally as a model for reparative, community-led economic development. I want to add to that in that this work that we've been carrying out, I have to say, in all my time of working in community and for community, has been transformative for the African Nova Scotian community. The African Nova Scotian communities are now starting to get their feet under them. They're starting to lead their own initiatives. They're starting to develop plans for the growth of their communities, something that has been missing since our arrival here.
As we look ahead, continue investment in central to turning progress into lasting prosperity of African Nova Scotians within the 10 communities with HRM. We want to thank you for the time today and for your ongoing support. At this time, I'm going to call upon Carol-Ann Wright, our ED, to bring you the slides forward for the work that we've been doing for the last 3 years.
Good morning. I think we're still in morning. I want to thank Dolly and Irvin, our co-chairs for the Road to Economic Prosperity. They represent a council of 20 members who, as we said, is community-led, that continue to lead this work. My name is Carol-Ann Wright. I'm the Executive Director of Road to Economic Prosperity and the Director of Capacity Building and Strategic Initiatives for the African Nova Scotian Community within the Halifax Partnership. I am here to give a brief overview, but I also want to acknowledge that I'm here presenting on behalf of the staff team of REP, which is Tamar Brown Pryor, our Director of Operations, Bonnie Evans, who are our Government Liaison, Cora Rogers, Workforce Attachment, Chelsea Skeet, Engagement, and our Halifax Partnership staff, Krista Durlink and Karen Fraser, who are here and directly in back of us. Since we have come here, as Irvin Dolly pointed out, we have contributed to the growth and success of our municipality and the province. Nova Scotia's 52 historic Black communities are the largest and the oldest in Canada. 13 of these communities are in Halifax within HRM, and as of our last census, which is 2021, our province was home to 28,000 Black Nova Scotians, and with 73% living in HRM. Despite progress, African Nova Scotians continue to face significant inequities. We have found out this through our index, which was another major milestone in the community, having an index which we can have a snapshot of what's going on in our communities. It's more than just conversation. We could see it in the stats: higher unemployment rates, lower workforce participation, lower incomes, and higher rates of poverty. These disparities are rooted in historic systemic discrimination, underinvestment, and they persist today. So we're still living in our history to some extent, and this work helps us identify and act. Our strategic priorities are right before you there. It is the first comprehensive community-led economic strategy created for and by African Nova Scotian communities to address systemic issues and improve economic quality of life and outcomes for African Nova Scotians. REP's first 5-year strategy for 2021-2026 was endorsed by Regional Council and funded by HRM. HRM has been a key partner in advancing REP's 3 strategic priorities, which focus on building capacity, establishing land ownership, and increasing participation in education, employment, and entrepreneurship. Our collective impact has been fundamentally changed in the landscape of ANS communities, as our chair has just pointed to. Together, we build a collaborative community-led planning model that empowers African Nova Scotians to define and lead their own futures. We've built trust and partnerships between government and ANS communities, delivering practical reparation and addressing longstanding land, infrastructure, and service issues. We've driven policy reform, advanced research, and built capacity. These efforts are producing real results and impact that will benefit African Nova Scotians for generations to come. And we have built built really good collaboration with the planners, with African Nova Scotian communities, and that's taken some time, and we still continue to build on that. What's up there now? Over the last 5 years, REP has achieved measurable progress across 3 strategic priorities. Key achievements include embedding African Nova Scotian priorities into HRM planning policies and strategies, launching the Community Action Planning Program, which we collaborate with planning, restoring historic community boundaries, delivering social and economic benefits through major projects. And we set on things, support the Cogswell redevelopment, and that has also produced kind of a fundamental way of getting to community benefits agreements, and it helps us in communities to be able to have some kind of measurement in terms of how we're doing in terms of employment. Launching the ANS Prosperity and Wellbeing Index, which I mentioned, to track economic quality of life outcomes. This has been a major turning point for the community in being able to speak to those issues in a qualitative and quantitative way. The road ahead, I think I'm on slide 8. Where am I with you, or am I ahead? Yeah. As we look to the future, REP's new 5-year plan for 2026-2031 honors our historical and cultural roots while giving us wings to pursue a brighter future. Over the next 5 years, we will strengthen our partnership and scale our impact, advancing 37 actions across 4 priority areas. A major milestone will be REP's transition from being incubated within the partnership to being an independent secretariat in 2026. And that comes from historic value of looking at historic documents, which are community. This is not new. We have not created the wheel. We are standing on the shoulders of people who, since we have been here, have identified these issues over and over. We have just stood this up really quite differently, and based on their work. So building on generational prosperity together, to build on our proven partnerships and success, REP has submitted a proposal to HRM for $1 million annual investment to support the implementation of our plan moving forward. This investment will amplify our collective impact, create long-term economic value for HRM, unlock funding opportunities, and ensure ANS communities have leadership, support, and resources needed to thrive now and the future. The road to economic prosperity is inclusive. Economic development in action through our partnership with HRM demonstrates leadership, strong commitment to equitable growth, addressing long-standing gaps in services, infrastructure, and investment. By driving employment and economic growth in ANS communities, our work helps expand tax base, reduce service burdens, and strengthen our communities across HRM. The road to economic prosperity is guided by 3 councils. The Advisory Council holds the pen on the plan and measures our work and our priorities. We have folks from each Black community in HRM on the council. We also have an Elder and Youth Council as well that helps support and provide input and leadership on the work. A governance framework, bylaws, and sustainable plan have been developed for the new independent entity, which will become a secretariat society. REP is accountable to its councils, funders, and partners, and the broader community with regular reporting to the REP Advisory and the province. Progress is also celebrated with our annual public REP Summit, which we all enjoy and have just recently completed. While economic outcomes are tracked through the African Nova Scotian Prosperity and Wellbeing Index. Annual progress reports and the ANS Index are available on the REP website, and we have some copies here if you should want to look at one, and are distributed within communities and funders and partners. We also want to mention ANSIO is really key to the work we do, and we appreciate Jaslyn Skeet and Tracy Jones Grant as part of that work. We want to thank you for your time and partnership and your commitment to building a more inclusive and equitable, prosperous Halifax for all. We will welcome questions, and we ask that you recommend that the information be presented to Regional Council. Thank you.
Thank you all for the presentation. Dolly, Irving, Carol Ann, thanks very much. I'll open the floor for questions. I see Councillor Purdy's on the board. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for this presentation and for the work that you're doing and have been doing. So and I'm happy to move the motion. Do you want me to do that first or ask the question?
We can have the questions first.
And then
Yes,
move the motion.
yes.
Okay, yeah, for Regional Council. So my ask is about the financial ask, because we are in a very, I'm sure you're hearing on the news and the constraints that we are feeling around this table for budget and the affordability issues that everyone is going through. So I guess my question is, what is the impact on your work moving forward if the ask is not given as you have requested, if it is reduced by a portion or even not approved at all? So just, I guess, what would be the impact on your organization? Because you're in for the next 5 or 6 years.
Let me
Thank you.
tackle that question
Sure.
first by saying to you that we've had 5 years of work at the community level. The success that we've seen is just a very small portion of what we envision to be a much larger success story. I'm hearing you about budgets. I understand the economic situation, but let me say this to you. It's very easy during good economic times to support an issue or an initiative. It's during tough economic times that you show your true commitment to the community. Our community has been neglected for a very long time. We are catching up. Even your last presentation made note that change takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Going up a hill, well, we're walking up Citadel Hill. That's our hill to get to where we need to get to. So the ask that we're asking for is to ensure that this work continues at the appropriate level within our communities. As I said in my opening statement, this work has been transformative in terms of community feeling good about themselves. We take a look at what's going on. I mean, like in Beachville, the work that's going on in the Beachville community, completely revitalized. We go up to Upper Hammonds Plains community and we look at what's going on there in terms of economic community and economic development. And we'd like to think that we played a small part in that, in laying the groundwork of by community for community. Leadership comes from the community. We provide the opportunity to enhance capacity building within the communities through the programs of community-based planning. And so we really don't want to think about what would happen if we don't get it, because we know the importance of the work that we need to do. It absolutely has to be done so that communities aren't left saying, oh, another initiative by HRM, and as soon as things get tough, they left us. Because that's been the story in the past, and I want to change that story. Thank you.
If I may add on to what Mr. Irvin has said, not only that, but the fact that we have 10 Black communities with HRM to come together and it's moving forward. And not only that, the work that we have done in the last 5 years been recognized by the United Nations. In fact, the partnership received an award on the work they've done with us in the Black community. And all of Canada and the world is watching what we're doing here in Nova Scotia. And the rest of Canada is watching the work that we've come for. 400 years of being here, as coming here as non-slaves, but we became slaves by not being recognized for the work we've done. Irvin mentioned walking up Citadel Hill. The fact that that hill was built by my ancestors, that we're still not even recognized. You're walking to the building, you don't even know that. My son-in-law came in last year, who's from the West Coast and non-black. He was shocked because I did not know that history of Nova Scotia, didn't know that history of Canada, that we enslaved our own people. So for us coming back, for me to say to you, I don't want to hear that we're not going to get the money we asked for, because it's been said, reparation is long overdue for our black communities, 10 black communities in Nova Scotia. We have given our blood, our sweat, our tears. We have lost people. I'm even going to go to the war. We didn't want us involved. My people from my community, my family, went to war. Both wars, fighting for this country and part of Halifax. So when you look at us, it's not that we're coming here begging. We're asking to receive what everybody else is getting, and we have not been receiving. So we're doing this work, and we really proud with the work we've done. And when I go to Ontario or West Coast and they say, oh, you guys are doing so much work, that we're following your footsteps. So I think it's important that Halifax remain as a part of that partnership. That's coming from my heart and from my community, because this is where we're going forward. I don't want to see us going backwards, because too many times we've come to this table and gone back to, oh, we can't do it anymore. So that's just my take on it as co-chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dolly, it's great to see you again. Irvin, it's great to see you again, and the others that are part of your team. Thank you very much for coming in. You know, I've said this before. I'll say it again. You shouldn't have to come in here. You shouldn't have to, and I'm grateful that you have aligned all of your collaboration to be recognized the way you have. You know, it's often sometimes they'll say, "Oh, Halifax is doing so well." Well, pieces of Halifax are doing well, and I'm just glad to see you part of that fabric now. I have no issue at all with supporting the efforts that you have, and including financial. We have a heavy task ahead of us in the budget. You know that, most everyone knows that, but we're trying to streamline that down. But there's areas that just we cannot miss, and I believe strongly that that's the work that you're doing. I'm really, it warms my heart to hear you come in and tell us about the wonderful changes that are happening, and you are responsible for that. And if we can do a tiny piece of it as a council to support it and be it doesn't need to be recognized. It needs what you do as to be recognized. So I appreciate that. Appreciate all the work that you're doing. I want to know, Dolly, how the heck do you stay so young? But I have a question for you around the funding, two actually. So the funding that you're requesting this year, how long do you think that will sustain you? And if you were to come back in subsequent years, do you have like a plan of how that could look for us? Because when we budget for 1 year, we have to look into the future. And so if in your budget request or your budget, but in asking for that, just let us know how well that will sustain you and what your future might look like in relation to needing more funds.
So it's a yearly request that we put forward, and so we're also looking at the province. We're looking at a strategy around private investment and things like that. So those things are ongoing. So that will be an ongoing thing for us, in making sure that we're able to support the work. As we said, and particularly because one of the things around the consultation was the community was very clear with us when we did the consultation. Okay, this is really good, but we need to have our own entity. We've seen historically what happens to really good work in community, that it goes by the wayside when the resources dry up. So we have to continue to strategize around making sure we're sustainable. We have that built into our plan. And so we'll be coming back, to a municipality, the province, and private investors on a regular basis to make sure we can get the work done.
And further that as we move forward, that the funding for the work that we do gets funded for longer than 1 year. So that our planning on our part, we can really start to plan out into the future, 5 years out, as to what we need to do. So we are currently coming back each year, but hopefully we can demonstrate to council the results of the work we do and the importance of having sustainable funding.
Okay, thank you very much, and again, thank you for coming in.
Piece. Also, our community is becoming self-sufficient about themselves. They're now taking control of their economic base. And right now, we are in our Black community within Nova Scotia. None of us economic strong, because our land's been taken. Every time we turn around, our land boundaries being moved, our land's being taken. Government's giving people approval, giving land to our builders without consulting us. So we have a lot of issues, not just sitting here want to build a community, but we're still dealing with that systemic racism that goes on within government itself. And I worked in government for 30 years. I've seen it happen. I've been slapped in my face. And I'm at the point, like you said, as it's getting older, I say getting younger, I'm becoming stronger as a Black woman, because I have fought through my 30 years working in government, dealing with racism and seeing the impact being put on our Black communities and not being put on other communities. So we're still being enslaved in ways, and that is monetary way and also economic base, our land base. We're being stolen all the time from us. So we're still fighting. We have so many things that are going on. And I'm at the point that I say to my granddaughter who's in Vancouver, I don't know how you do it. I said, because you know what? God is strong. God has got my back. God has got our back. And because we have the faith in God, this is why we keep going and struggling, coming forward. Like you said, Beck, we should have to come here and ask. It should be automatic. We should have to come in. After 400 years of work in HRM, and not only HRM, but within Canada as a whole, we are left out of the history books. But with this project we look at, and not just Nova Scotia, but my cousin lives in Florida. She watched it, and she said, I see what you guys are doing in Halifax. And not only that, but other Black communities in Canada is watching what we're doing here in Halifax. Halifax got on the roadmap for doing great work because we went out there and did our work for us, by us, for us. So that's why we are where we are. So I just want to again thank you for what you have done so far. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Becky, and you can come back, okay? And thank you, Dolly. We'll move to Deputy Mayor, the Deputy Mayor next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not Peter. All right. Thank you so much for being here. And, you said you were proud of this work, and you should be proud of this work because it's quite an accomplishment and an amazing number of things being able to accomplish over the last few years working under the Greater Halifax Partnership. I have some questions too about the funding, because that is a big topic of conversation right now. But also, I think it is a question about the scope of work and the financial sustainability. So, in reading the report, I kind of see that the scope is expanding beyond HRM. That work is happening in Truro and other communities across the province. So I'm really interested in knowing what funding you have from the province. I mean, HRM has a mandate specific to HRM and the municipality here, and if there's opportunity to take the work that's done here and apply it in other areas of the province, that's wonderful and amazing. We should be a leader. But when the scope of the work kind of becomes provincial, I do think it's important that we understand what the funding is from the provincial government, and potentially, as Dolly, as you're saying, like this is nationally significant. Where's the federal government in this? Because I think the work deserves to be recognized and supported in that way, and also we need to look at the long-term financial sustainability of this. The other question I had was about the just seeing a budget and business plan. I'm sure you guys have been working on that and thinking about that. I mean, you've got all the data and the facts here. So seeing a budget and business plan, I think would also be useful, so we understand over the next 5 years, what the financial ask is being applied to. I see 11 full-time employees, but I'm assuming too there's overhead with that, office space. Just wondering how all that's going to work. And I sincerely ask that really from a due diligence perspective of how contribution agreements and reporting frameworks and how that might work in this financial partnership and continuing to advance the work that you're doing. And sorry for layering on the questions, but the last one is I'm just really curious about the model. It's not a not-for-profit. You're looking for a secretariat, and so that's something I'm not familiar with, and I think that's kind of an interesting concept. What is a secretariat, and how does that work, and why are you choosing that model? You mentioned that it's a model that has existed before, but it's not something I've seen before, with the municipality. Is it I'm just trying to understand what kind of entity that works and how you get a status of a secretariat.
Try to answer these in order if I can. So our understanding today was this is an information report. So to go into a business case would be our presentation, I think, at HRM Council. We would go into the details of, what those things would be. When you talked about the province, of course, we have the same ask into the province because we have done provincial work. The first thing that we need to note that the African Nova Scotian community doesn't see themselves in the catchment of HRM only. It is a provincial, we see ourselves as provincial. So when we start doing work in the HRM area, we got requests right away from the regions in terms of how this work can be, replicated in the regions. And the province supported that. So we went to do some work in Truro. That work was supported by the province, I think, in our second and third year, not to the extent of HRM, but they supported the work so we could travel and help create those opportunities in the regions. So we have an ask to the, building up, the same way that we're going to do to HRM with the province as well. So we've lined that up. We have, the proposals ready, all of that good stuff. In terms of a secretariat, no, there hasn't been a secretariat before, but if you look at secretariats, they give you some leverage around policy development. And so we've had some success with being able to influence policy in these 5 years, which is phenomenal, around land use, around boundaries, around those types of things. So it was really important. While policy was happening through all those different pillars, it was important to have a policy pillar. And so a secretariat allows you to work with government, but also be external to community, to work with community in a way that's not isolating. And so that's why we chose a secretariat. It is also fundamentally part of a 1995 report where a task force from our community went to government and said, with all the work that we've done since we've got here, we think a secretariat approach would work for us because it allows us that flexibility and fluidity around policy, legislation, being able to be working with government partners at the tables with senior bureaucrats. It allows that, and it allows the community to be at tables where they weren't normally at. So we're fulfilling, and some documents from 1983, 95, and 2000 all say the same thing. So when we looked at those documents, we thought it was really important to honor that request from our ancestors historically, but also because it's fundamentally sound in terms of how we will work to make sure that there's success in this. And we build, and it's also about embeddedness. As I think Councillor said, we shouldn't be we shouldn't have to come here like this, but if there's not a process embedded and not a process by way that community can interact with government, you have to create that. And so that's part of the work that we're doing, is embedding that through a secretariat and through this initial work.
That's so interesting. So is the secretariat a provincial designation? Okay, thank you.
It can be as well, federal and provincial.
So I just want to add to that a little bit, Deputy Mayor, in regards to your comment around HRM versus, and you're seeing us outreach into the province. When I was chair of the Halifax Regional School Board, I always told my board that the work we do in HRM doesn't just affect individuals, it affects the entire race of people. 73% of our people are in HRM. So the actions on the part of HRM don't just affect individuals, it affects 73% of an entire population. So we're coming to you and we're being, I think, pretty generous in saying that we only want 50%. And we'll find the other 23%. And the Secretariat is important to us because Carol Ann has said it gives us the flexibility to continue on the model that we've already started with, by us, for us. Government departments are prone to the policies and procedures of government. They are prone to the priorities of government. A secretariat is outside of those limitations. And so that's what we need to be. We have found through our 5 years of work that that's the model that works best for us. And then in researching history, we found that the number of groups who were brought together to study the issues have all concluded the same conclusion. So it's through our practical experience that we have developed the Secretariat model, and it's through our historical experience that we feel that model is the model that will work best for us.
And if I may add to that, Enabling Prosperity, HRM New 2026-30 strategy identifies enabling prosperity and strengthening communities a key priority guiding in the municipality's approach to inclusiveness throughout the HRMR. Urban had said, and I keep saying sister, I'm not in church, but sometimes I think I am. But anyway, they both have said that we are 73% of our Black community is in HRM. And our Black communities have been, and we are looking forward. So when we ask for $1 million, when you look at 10 communities, $1 million, look at how much is that going to each community or trying to work. So when you think at the dollar, it's not about the dollar sign, it's about the stuff that got to go into it. $1 million might seem like a lot of money, but actually it's not. And the community saying, why you only ask for $1 million? They owe us. Doesn't matter whether they owe us or not. We're coming here to work for ourselves. We are becoming self-sufficient. And by doing this, while we're here today to give a grasp, a piece of what we're doing, we want to go forward. In 5 years, we're hoping to be sustainable. Some of us in our community are sustainable, but most of us not. You drive to the Black communities and you look at where we are. For instance, I'm going to use East Preston as a growth. We have no water in our area. Even to get the roads paved, we got to fight to get a highway to come in and patch up our roads. They'll come in and patch. They'll put gravel on a road that we've been asking for 15 years to get included into paving. It's a connected road. We can't get it paved. So between government and HRM, we are fighting the battle. You guys sit in the city here or wherever you live, you don't see or hear what we're going through. Our communities are very quiet, but we're still going through the impact of racism and the barriers that put in place. So when we come here today, we're coming here representing our communities, all Black communities. But some of the older folks said, we're tired of fighting, and we should be doing this now. We shouldn't have to come here and ask for this. But anyway, we're here today, and hopefully you will support the work that we've done and plan on continuing to do. So thank you again for having us here. I'm getting really emotional because I work every day and see this, so I'm just at my limit. So.
I think Councillor Purdy has a question. Did you have another comment before we move to Councillor Purdy? Okay. No, I just saw you push your button, so I wasn't sure. Okay. Councillor Purdy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And no, I don't have any more questions at this time, but I was going to move the motion to advance this to Regional Council.
Councillor Daigle Gammon is also on the board. I'm not sure if she was planning to put the motion forward.
Sure, okay,
I know
yes,
you volunteered, so, or did you have a comment, Councillor Daigle Gammon? Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I was kind of waiting my turn patiently. This is my second term, so 5 years in, and have watched your work over the 5 years, and the growth is absolutely something to be respected and celebrated. So thank you so very, very much. I absolutely understand the passion. I would say just one thing, and the Deputy Mayor Cuddle, had asked about the business plan. So when this does come before Regional Council, it would probably be in your best interest to have the best form of a business plan where all of the forms of funding that should come and where they will come from. So I think that will be important. But I would be very pleased to put this motion forward that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee forward the staff report dated November 4th, 2025 to Halifax Regional Council as an information item only. And then I know that there is a second motion that maybe Councillor Purdy might want to look at. No? Okay. And then combined with that, that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee direct the CAO to prepare a report evaluating the proposed 26 to 2031 African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity Plan request to inform the 26-27 budget planning.
Okay, just in terms of process, while Councillor Daigle-Gammon was speaking and before she brought up the motion, Councillor Hinch is on the board. So we can call for a seconder now and then have Councillor Hinch speak, or we can have Councillor Hinch speak. Go ahead.
I would just like to interrupt for a moment just to suggest that maybe we should just resolve the first motion and then keep the second motion separate, where one is a recommendation to Regional Council and the other is direction to the CAO. So for follow-up and feedback, it also just would make sense to keep them separate if possible.
So one motion is on the floor. We do not yet have a seconder for that motion. Okay, so Councillor Purdy has seconded the motion. Question? All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion has passed unanimously. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Daigle-Gammon, or may I pass to Councillor Hinch, who is our guest?
Please, our guest.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I just want to thank my council members for putting this forward and continuing on with this. I am so honored and proud of this board here, this committee here. The three that you see before you, Dolly Williams, Irvin Carberry, Carolyn Wright, are all, they raised me pretty much. And this is the reason why I'm here, that I'm in this chair. I truly believe that. They supported me. They have given me so much encouragement that I could do this. And I just want to, continue to support them in any way that I can. And I'm just happy to be here for this today. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hinch, and thank you for sharing that special sentiment with all of us. Thank you. So we're now at the point of, I think we voted on the first one. So now we're at the point where we may, Councillor Daigle-Gammon or Councillor Purdy both have expressed an interest in putting the motion on. Councillor Daigle-Gammon, please read the motion if you wish.
Sure, I can read the motion again. That the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee direct the CAO to prepare a report evaluating the proposed 26 to 2031 African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity Plan request to inform the 2026-27 budget planning.
And seconded by Councillor Purdy. Any comments, Councillor Daigle-Gammon, please? Go ahead.
Thank you very much. We're in the midst of budget planning, and we all know that it's a difficult road that we're on, and it's we're being careful about the tax dollar and everything. So I am looking forward to the most informed information that can come forward so that the regional council can make the best decision for the African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity Plan. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daigle-Gammon. Any other comments? Question? Okay. The question has been called for. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Contrary minded, nay. The motion has passed. Thank you. Thank you to our presenters. Yes, thank you. Okay, moving on to more administrative items. Our proposed meeting schedule. Looking for someone to move the motion. Thank you, Councillor Purdy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee approve the proposed 2026 Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee meeting schedule as outlined in the staff memorandum.
Okay, thank you. And seconded by Councillor Daigle-Gammon. She had her hand up, sorry. Okay. All those in, okay, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Contrary minded, nay. The motion has passed. Do we have any motions from councillors? No in-camera items, no added items. Any notices of motion from councillors? No. The date of the next meeting is December 3, 2025. And may I have a motion to adjourn? Vice Chair Saint-Amand. Okay. Thank you. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Oof.